respect. Here's a picture of the farm, Star Road, 1951. The lady is still alive today, Mrs. Asakanian, who lived on this farm. This is my father's house. This is the two barns. I wanted you guys to see that. Make sure you have that. Also, this is a map of 1958. I presented, there's one of 67, there's one of 77, I said earlier. This is 1958. There's a legend on this thing. It says abandoned or impassable road. And it shows the slash marks of Star Road being abandoned, that section. This is 56, this is 58. And we also have a map of 56 that I gave you, Kenny. So then I went to the DOT, and they sent me a letter. These are the new maps that they make. This is 1994. And I wanted to show you guys Star Road. Kenny has one in his office, which is 2000, I believe, 4, or it could even be 7. I don't want to rip this up.
That's the one.
So, there you have it. I wanted Steve to take a look at it. There's Star Road, Rhode Island line. They completely cut it off. And this is year 1994. This is 2014. This one's 94. And I wanted to show that the state has not changed. What has changed is the legend. They don't even recognize Star Road. They haven't recognized Star Road since 77. Up the Rhode Island line, and before that, it was marked as abandoned. So these are all official maps. They're not aerials. They're created within the town hall. This is,
This one, are the legends the same?
They're exactly-
Done with the
they're
colors?
exact, yep, they're exactly the same. This is 1994. This is when they first created them, and this is what the present day, because they haven't made it 2015 yet. And this is from the Al Ilionato guy. I just think if the board is making a decision on things, the board needs to see all this information about Star Road. Now, Mr. Slater has given this in your packet, but I also found one recently, actually Rob Mann did, 1956. He's been very helpful in finding things. And this is 1958, and we got 72. You've got 69, don't you?
The oldest one I could find in the office was 69.
I got 67s and I got 56. Again, the legend's right there, abandoned and impassable. That's what he said in his packet to you guys. I assumed you got all this. Did you not?
From your attorney?
Yeah. Yeah, so you guys know what's going on.
And you gave me it looks like that map, but it's larger, the laminated one.
Right, it is larger. And the reason I'm bringing this 56 map up, because it was in the packet, and it says Carolyn Words right on it, 1956 map 154, which is upstairs. This is definitely an overlay. What I find funny is it says 5 acres here. This was a farm, 42-acre farm, from 1933 to 1969. It wasn't broken up at that point. And that's why I'm showing you this. This is New Road, come up Star Road. That's where it enters the driveway. There's my father's garage, which is now a garage, it was a barn. There's the barn there. You show me, this is the barn by Freddie, where Freddie Lou is. This is where the cul-de-sac is right now. And this is the farmhouse. My father's house is in the exact same location. These two trees still exist, this tree still exists. I wanted you to have it. I just wanted you to see the map upstairs that they're using as evidence, is this makeshift aerial map. That someone drew these lines up to there. And also this piece of land says 14 acres. He says over the years that he never touched it since 2004. It actually comes out to here, it's 15.7. He did alter that property. So I wanted you guys to know what was going on in that aspect. These are DOT maps. I wanted you to see it. And my other question is who's gonna find out tomorrow that Marla Butts did not notify the town of Burrillville or the town of Douglas within the right time? She had 7 days, she took 30 days, and she never even notified Douglas. And Douglas is on an application. I wanna know how we can possibly have a hearing tomorrow when the application from day one is invalid. Because if I'm gonna have an attorney show up tomorrow, it's gonna cost me some money, which I have no problem with that, if the hearing happens. I do not want Ken Slater to come here tomorrow with my wetlands agent to be simply sent home. It's not right. So I wanna know how long is it gonna take to get that decision made, whether they're gonna have that hearing or not. I don't want it 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you follow what I'm saying?
As soon as I get an answer, I will.
And I just want you to tell Mr. Sanders if he's gonna give you his opinion. If you didn't have a hearing, 14 days after notifying me, not notifying me the first time you didn't have a hearing, you certainly can't have one now if it's not done correctly. That's why I gave you that package, it shows you everything. You go online, the 33 pages, it shows you all the regulations. Someone's gotta follow up and hold these people accountable. So the original application is the question, it wasn't done correctly. Forget about the hearing. And then the wording, I'm upset about the wording too as well, changing it from construction of a bridge. Is it a construction of a bridge or is it a construction of a driveway? You can't have a driveway on a road that doesn't exist. We gotta come to that conclusion. And is the board responsible for driveway permits or the first selectman? I need clarity on that because my documentation says it's the whole board, not one person. We need to find out about that. What's true and what isn't true. It's hearsay. But I believe the ordinance says the entire board. And I have another paper over there I was gonna hand out, part of New Road, back in 2007, was not owned by the town of Thompson. Mr. Messier had to deed it over to the town of Thompson. Otherwise, 11 of his house lots, 2 or 3 of them wouldn't have been on a town-accepted road. Capiche? That's it. It wouldn't have been on a town-accepted road. If they had to do that on New Road, boy, I'd like to know how they're gonna do something on what they're calling Star Road. So, it's something to think about, all the evidence is there. And I'm not putting you on the spot, but the point of it is, tomorrow's a very important day.
I agree with you.
And I think that how you put the cart before the horse. And are you guys aware that they gave him a temporary bridge for timber harvesting? And he doesn't know how he's gonna get the bridge there because he can't go up there yet? It doesn't make sense how you would give someone the bridge if you can't have access to it. And is there a conflict of interest with Bill St. Onge being so closely involved in Putnam with dealings with Rawson in the past? That's very critical to look at, because my attorney did a 25-page report. He could not represent me if he had any dealings with any associates with River Junction or anybody in this. And I know that Bill had some dealings with Alan in the past on certain deals. So we need to find that out, because that could be a conflict of interest. Something to look into. He's our attorney, he's also Tom Putnam's attorney. You have to check it out.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
She can go. Let her go
You all
first.
set? Because you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'm only gonna take a couple seconds. Just one thing, I know the application, also, maybe not, it wasn't 2.5, it was 2.9 had, I think you guys have seen this before. It said, that they wanted to remove, at one point I saw 60 yards of gravel, and bring it back in, and then at one point it was 100 yards of gravel. I've seen 2 different scenarios, but use of Star Road for earth removal is prohibited. Now, 60 yards of gravel, 100 yards of gravel. You know the definition of prohibited, can't be done. You have to bring the gravel a different way. The other thing I just wanted to share with you is the aerial photographs, that one where I got it. They're all available through the state of Connecticut. They have a Connecticut State Library, it's online. If you have a Macintosh computer, it does a beautiful job blowing up photos. I would love you to just take a peek. You can look at maps from 1934 to present day, pretty much. There's a ton of them on there. Thank you.
I'm ready for you, Sally.
All right, thank you. It would seem that simple logic would suggest that the hearing should not be held tomorrow night, given that the other hearings were canceled for similar negligence in their forewarning and noticing to people. The second thing is that St. Onge was part of the recommending that some of these other hearings not be held because of negligence to following proper procedure. Then legal precedent has been set by our own town attorney. So if you were to say tomorrow night should go on, I would suggest that the board should say, thank you, and we'll make our own decision based on precedent that has been set, not to mention simple logic. But it would be ludicrous to hold the hearing tomorrow night, given what has been already happening in the past. Following on to that, with the concern about the conflict of interest, it is my understanding that Alan Rawson is the chairman of the school renovation committee in Putnam for the high school. And obviously, St. Ange being the attorney in Putnam has a lot to do with the contract that has to do, I suspect that he reviewed and worked with the school committee of which Mr. Rawson is the chairman. Not to mention the old armory building that has been handed over to Mr. Rawson's organization, and I suspect that Mr. St. Ange was involved in that. It's also very interesting that the company that has the contract for the renovation of the Putnam High School is the very same company that purchased Mr. Rawson's prior company. So, and is also involved in the activity in the northeast corner of Thompson.
OG, right?
O&G, yes. So there's a fine kettle of fish there that has been marinating and probably has a lot of toxic bubbles in it. So, so for perhaps some of you realize these things, most of them are pretty evident in the press or with a little wee bit of research, but tread carefully.
Thank you, Sally.
You're welcome.
Kevin?
Have a good night.
Thank you, Kevin Walsh, Plain Road. Campaign planks and platforms. Just spend a few seconds talking about that. Last election cycle, the current majority party on this board made it their business to see to it that they were gonna make very clear that a lot of the so-called lack of trust and confidence that the people had in regards to its town hall and its employees, the main focus was gonna be that, gonna take care of that. In my opinion, I think it was just enough to push the current majority party across the finish line in regards to you two people sitting there and then Steve being the minority. I plan on holding the majority party to that campaign promise and pledge that they made to the people. You've had a couple of months now to get your feet wet, get the lay of the land, so on and so forth, the beginning of a new year. I'm concerned that this board could be taking the path of a previous board that had some troubled times and some troubled waters, simply because of issues that were not handled in an honest way. I think everybody on the board here has enough information now as to what's going on. Kenny, you promised us, you're committed to the people, that you're gonna straighten things out here in town hall, where they needed to be straightened out. And I'm gonna make it my business on a regular basis to ask you how you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Anybody else? Hearing none? Tax records, refunds. Well, this is a record of a refund.